Oh, 1 second. Welcome to Punished for Protecting News with Francesca Amato.
Hello and welcome to Punished for Protecting live broadcast today, Punished for Protecting News. Today we have a very hot and heated topic that we are seeing, and I'm actually very happy that we are seeing this topic in regards to the children at the border that are being separated by their families. And today, I want to talk about the fact that we have children within our borders that have been separated, fiercely separated, traumatically separated from American families. I am very, very much the type of a person that wants to see safe borders. I want to see us having people come into our country, welcomed into our country with open arms, however, properly vetted, just as if me, as an Italian, can't go to Italy without being properly vetted myself. I can't just go and cross any border. I can't go into Canada without being vetted. And I want to see that here for our American citizens and for America. But I also want to see people being welcomed in, as we should be welcomed into other countries. However, we have a national crisis here in America. One that has been a big giant elephant in the room. Nobody wants to look at that elephant. Nobody wants to see that it's actually standing there. So we're all concerned right now about what we see. I hear all kinds of sides, as a matter of fact. I hear people complaining, hey, if you're a criminal and you go to jail, your children get, tossed out like dogs, and it's okay because follow the law. So we're all concerned right now. Follow the law? Okay, so when does the law cross over into a traumatic incident that takes place in a child's life that affects them for their entire existence? When is the law more important than the safety, welfare, and emotional well-being of any child, whether they are American citizens or citizens of another country? Why aren't people actually looking at the detrimental effects on children? The first thing I want to read to you today is the stats that are given to us by the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Before I read some of these stats to you, I want to let you know that these stats are not 100% accurate. And we know this because as an advocate, advocates well know that the majority of women will not talk about, nor will they report the fact that they are being abused in a domestic violence relationship for the very fear of losing their children to an abuser. Men, on the other hand, will not report that they are being abused for the mere fact of the embarrassment factor that they would have to undergo as men, or for the demeaning qualities to both mother or father, woman or man. But these statistics are the most accurate and the most up-to-date facts that we have at this time. In general, on average, 24 people per minute are victims of rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner in the United States. More than 12 million women and men over the course of a year. Nearly 3 in 10 women, 29%, and 1 in 10 men, 10%, in the US have experienced rape, physical violence, and or stalking by a partner and report a related impact on their functioning. Nearly 15% of women, 14.8%, and 4% of men have been injured as a result of IPV that included rape, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime. 1 in 4 women, 24.3%, and 1 in 7 men, 13.8%, aged 18 and older in the United States, have been the victim of severe physical violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. IPV alone affects more than 12 million people each year. More than 1 in 3 women, 35.6%, and more than 1 in 4 men, 28.5% in the United States, have experienced rape, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime. Nearly half of all women and men in the United States have experienced psychological aggression by an intimate partner in their lifetime, 48.4% and 48.8% respectively. Females ages 18 to 24 and 25 to 34 generally experience the highest rates of intimate partner violence. From 1994 to 2010, about 4 in 5 victims of intimate partner violence were female. Most female victims of intimate partner violence were previously victimized by the same offender, including 77% of females ages 18 to 24, 76% of females ages 25 to 34, and 81% of females ages 35 to 49. Sexual violence. Nearly 1 in 5 women, 18.3%, and 1 in 71 men, 1.4%, have been raped in their lifetime by perpetrators. Nearly 1 in 10 women in the United States, 9.4%, have been raped by an intimate partner in their lifetime. 81% of women who experienced rape, stalking, or physical violence by an intimate partner reported significant short or long-term impacts, such as post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms and injury. 35% of men report such impacts of their experiences, and I bet you most of you did not know that. More than half, 51.1% of female victims of rape reported being raped by an intimate partner, and 40.8% of an acquaintance. For male victims, more than half, 52.4%, reported being raped by an acquaintance, 52.4% of men, and 15.1% by a stranger. An estimated 13% of women and 6% of men have experienced sexual coercion in their lifetime, unwanted sexual penetration after being pressured in a non-physical way. 27.2% of women and 11% of men have experienced unwanted sexual contact by a perpetrator. Stalking. 1 in 6 women, 16.2%, and 1 in 19 men, 5.2%, in the United States have experienced stalking victimization at some point during their lifetime, in which they felt very fearful or believed that they have or someone close to them would harm or kill them. 2/3, 66.2% of female victims of stalking were stalked by a current or former intimate partner. Men were primarily stalked by an intimate partner or acquaintance, 41.4% and 40% respectively. Repeatedly receiving unwanted telephone calls, voice or text messages was the most commonly experienced stalking tactic for both female and male victims of stalking, 78.8% for women and 75% for men. An estimated 10% of women and 2.1% of men have been stalked by an intimate partner during their lifetime. Children. A child witnessed violence in 22%, nearly 1 in 4, of intimate partner violence cases filed in state courts. 30 to 60% of perpetrators of intimate partner violence also abuse children in the households. There is a common link between domestic violence and child abuse. Among victims of child abuse, 40% report domestic violence in the home, from a World Report. One study in North America found that children who were exposed to violence in the home were 15 times more likely to be physically and sexually assaulted than the national average. The U.S. Advisory Board on Child Abuse and Neglect suggests that domestic violence may be the single major precursor to child abuse and neglect in this country. Teens. In a nationwide survey, 9.4% of high school students report being hit or physically hurt on purpose by their boyfriend or girlfriend in the 12 months prior to the survey. About 1 in 5 women and nearly 1 in 7 men who ever experienced rape, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner first experienced some form of partner violence between 11 and 17 years of age. More than a quarter of male victims of completed rape, 28%, were first raped when they were 10 years old or younger by a perpetrator. About 35% of women who were raped as minors also were raped as adults, compared to 14% of who, without an early rape. Most female victims of completed rape, 79.6%, experienced their first rape before the age of 25. 42.2% experienced their first completed rape before the age of 18. 1 in 10 high school students has experienced physical violence from a dating partner in the past 5 years, or in the past year, sorry. Most female and male victims of rape, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner, 69% of female victims, 53% of male victims, experience some sort of form of intimate partner violence for the first time before 25 years of age. 43% of dating college women report experiencing violent and abusive dating behaviors, including physical, sexual, verbal, or controlling abuse. Nearly 1 in 3, 29% of college women say they have been abused during dating relationships. 52% of college women report knowing a friend who has experienced violent and abusive dating behaviors, include physical, sexual, tech, verbal, and controlling behaviors. More than half, 57% of college students who report experiencing dating violence and abuse said it occurred in college. 58% of college students say they don't know what to do to help someone who's a victim of dating abuse. 38% of college students say they don't know how to get help for themselves if they were a victim of dating abuse. More than half of the college students, 57%, say it's difficult to identify dating abuse. 1 in 3, 36%, dating college students have given a dating partner their computer, email, or social network password, and these students are more likely to experience digital dating abuse. 1 in 5 college women have been verbally abused by a dating partner. 1 in 6, 16% college women have been sexually abused in a dating relationship. 1 in 4 dating teens is abused or harassed online or through text by their partners. Victim of digital dating abuse and harassment are 2 times as likely to be physically abused, 2.5 times as likely to be psychologically abused, and 5 times as likely to be sexually coerced. Nearly 1 in 10 teens in a relationship report to have a partner tamper with their social networking account, the most frequent form of harassment or abuse. Only 1 in 5 victims say they experience digital abuse or harassment at school and during school hours. Most take place away from school grounds. About 84% of victims are psychologically abused by their partners, half are physically abused, and 1/3 experience sexual coercion. Only 4% experience digital abuse and harassment alone. So social media, texts, and emails don't seem to invite new abuse. They just provide abusers with a new tool. And then we can get into the workplace as well. In the workplace, nearly 33% of women killed in the U.S. workplaces between 2003 and 2008 were killed by current or former intimate partners. Nearly 1 in 4 large private industry establishments reported at least one incident of domestic violence, including threats and assaults. A survey of American employees found that 44% of full-time employed adults personally experienced domestic violence effects in their workplace, and 21% of it identified themselves as victims of intimate partner relationships. 64% of the respondents in a 2005 survey who identified themselves as victims of domestic violence indicated that their ability to work was affected by violence. More than half of domestic violence victims, 57%, said they were distracted. Almost half, 45%, feared getting discovered, and 2 in 5 were afraid of their intimate partner's unexpected visits, either by phone or in person. Nearly 2 in 3 corporate executives, 63%, say that domestic violence is a major problem in our society, and more than half, 55%, cite its harmful impact on productivity in their companies. 9 in 10 employees, 91%, say that domestic violence has a negative impact on their company's bottom line. Just 43% of corporate executive agrees. 7 in 10 corporate executives, 71%, do not perceive domestic violence as a major issue at their company. More than 70% of United States workplaces do not have a formal program or policy that addresses workplace violence. Nearly 8 million days of paid work each year is lost due to domestic violence issues, the equivalent of more than 32,000 full-time jobs. 96% of domestic violence who are employed experience problems at the workplace. Why am I talking about this? Well, it's a variety of things. It's both male and female. It's an issue that has affected both male and female. These males and females are mothers and fathers in many cases. These males and females have children. And then we have our wonderful judicial system that has failed us every day in America, from the minute it opens to the minute it closes. They are rendering court decisions that are endangering the welfare of families. And what they're doing is they're critically destroying the very fabric of our nation by harming our nation's children. Instead of safeguarding children, they are endangering children. Now, we're talking about the borders, and I want to show you a clip here regarding what's happening at our borders and how Americans are looking at this situation right now.
What purpose have you been given for separating parents from their children?
So my decision has been that anyone who breaks the law will be prosecuted. If you're a parent or you're a single person or you happen to have a family, if you cross between the ports of entry, we will refer you for prosecution. You've broken U.S. law.
At an April 26th hearing, I asked Undersecretary James McCammett to provide me with what percentage of cases exist in your agency where a child has been separated from a parent or guardian since October of 2017, wherein the case resulted in trafficking charges. I've not been given that information. Can you provide that to me?
I do not have it now, but yes, I will provide it to you.
Okay, can you do that by the end of next week?
If we have the information, yes.
Thank you. I also asked that I be provided with what training and procedures are being given to CBP officers as it relates to how they are instructed to carry out family separation. I've not received that information. Do you have that today?
No, you have not asked me for it, so I do not have it. But
no,
I'm
I
happy
asked
to give
him
it
for
to you.
Okay, so again, by the end of next week, please.
Can you explain a little more what you're looking for?
Sure. So your agency will be separating children from their parents. And
no, what we'll be doing is prosecuting parents who have broken the law, just as we do every day in the United States of America.
I can appreciate that. But if that parent has a 4-year-old child, what do you plan on doing with that child?
The child under law goes to HHS for care and custody.
They will be separated from their parent.
Just like we do in the United States every day.
So they will be separated from their parent. And my question then is, when you are separating children from their parents, do you have a protocol in place about how that should be done? And are you training the people who will actually remove a child from their parent on how to do that in the least traumatic way? I would hope you do train on how to do that. And so the question is, and the request has been, to give us the information about how you are training and what the protocols are for separating a child from their parent.
I'm happy to provide you with the training information.
Thank you.
What's happening right now is really unprecedented. What we've seen here in Arizona is actually, since January, over 200 cases of parents being separated from their children. And some of these children are extremely young, as you mentioned. We've actually seen children who are 2 years old regularly. And just last week, we saw a 53-week-old infant in court without a parent.
I'm sorry. I'm having a really hard time thinking about this. So a 53-week-old infant comes with presumably his or her mother, and they're apprehended by Customs Border Patrol, and then they're processed in some way. And at some point, someone from the government in a uniform comes and physically takes a 53-week-old baby away from the mother.
That's correct, yeah. What happens oftentimes at the border is that the parents are separated and taken into separate custody, and the children are brought into the custody of the Office of Refugee Resettlement and brought into shelters that are run by the government.
There are shelters, and then it's hard to run a child care system. Like, who's watching the 53-week-old infant?
So again, it's the Office of Refugee Resettlement is tasked with housing children who are unaccompanied minors. And in the past, that's always referred to children who cross the border sort of on their own and wasn't really involving young children. like what we're seeing now. But what we're seeing now is that because the government is separating the children from the parents, the government is actually, rendering these children as unaccompanied minors and making them unaccompanied and bringing them into these shelters.
Okay, we're going to show a lot more of that, and I know there's a lot of you with different opinions in regards to what you just saw there. We're going to show other clips regarding what's happening at the border, and here's my take on that. Again, and I'm going to emphasize it, we need to vet people. We need to have people properly coming into our country. There's no question about that. Here's my problem. What about the people that are American citizens here in this country? Why is nobody looking at the fact that children are being separated by the government, by judicial tyranny, okay, by these attorneys, by CPS every single day without due process, endangering children every single day, causing irreparable harm to them, absolute irreparable harm to them, psychologically abusing children inside our borders every single day. America's children are forgotten. America's children are abused. America's children are traumatized for eternity. Every single day right here inside our borders, as we're looking at the borders, we're not concerned about our very children here in this country. If you wonder why there's such a drug epidemic, if you wonder why there's such an abuse epidemic, if you wonder why there are children that are grown adults that are having bad relationships, there's your answer. We have a judicial system that hasn't been held in check. It hasn't been held in any sort of accountability for 50 years. We have a judicial system that is rendering decisions that are destroying the family. And we have a country that's fallen asleep. And now everybody's up in arms and concerned about the children, which we should be, that are being ripped apart from people who are doing things illegally. And we should be concerned about those children. Those children matter, and our children within our borders matter. I like what this guy said in the next video clip, and I know I've heard controversy on both sides about what he has said as he is stating, do you have a heart? Are you a parent? And I've seen other videos where they're upset because, well, these parents are doing something illegal, so it makes it right to hurt children and separate them at the border. No, it doesn't make it right. What's happened to our nation? If you go to a pond and there's piranha in the water, and the sign says absolutely no swimming, but somebody falls in and you jump in to save that victim, and you now are arrested for doing the right thing morally, saving a victim before they get chewed up or killed or whatever. And now you're arrested for jumping in because the law said you weren't supposed to do that. Well, there's certain things that supersede laws. Look at Rosa Parks, okay? We have to supersede laws by our brain. We have to supersede laws by our moral compass, our God-given rights to protect our children. And we're not protecting our children, and our judicial system is not protecting our children. And the sad part is they're not even following the very laws that are foundational in our nation under our Constitution. They're kind of making them up as they go for the mighty dollar. Let's show you this clip.
Jill, don't you have any empathy?
Jill, go ahead.
Come on, Sarah, you're a parent. Don't you have any empathy for what these people are going through?
Jill,
they have less than
Brian,
you do.
guys,
Sarah, come on,
settle down.
Seriously.
I'm trying to be serious, but I'm not going to have you yell out of turn. Jill, please
It's
call.
a law, and these people have nothing. They
Hey, Brian, I know you want to get some more TV time, but that's not what this is about. If I want to recognize you, go ahead, Jill.
Honestly, answer the question. It's a serious question. These people have nothing. They come to the border with nothing, and you throw children in cages. You're a parent. You're a parent of young children. Don't you have any empathy for what they go through?
The reporter you just saw there, Brian Karam, is out front. He is the executive editor of Sentinel Newspapers and a CNN contributor. And Brian, thanks for coming on. I mean, look, looking at your body language, the way you were talking there, obviously you made it personal, talking about Sanders being a mother to young children, but this was obviously a passionate moment for you, an emotional moment for you. What made you get so personal about it?
Well, two things, really. I covered the border for 5 years, and I've seen the conditions under which people live that force them to flee and come to the United States and risk all. And if you're going to risk everything, you know, the proper answer actually for her would have been, you know, what we're providing them in a Walmart is better than what they have in their home country, and that would have been callous but true. The second thing is she's brought her children and her personal life into that briefing room on numerous occasions, and in fact, as recently as last night, when CBS was reporting that she may be leaving her post soon, said she was at a kindergarten meeting with her children. So it's a very human question to ask. I mean, do you have empathy for what these people go through, regardless of policy? What I want to see, what I want to know is, where do you draw the line? And what to invoke the Bible? That was another thing that she invoked the Bible as the law. I got a nice passage from the Bible: "Whatsoever you do to the least of my brother, that you do unto me." But the simple fact of the matter is that separation of church and state, it's rather abhorrent for me to hear someone use the Bible in that manner.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, if you've ever seen anyone live in the conditions that force them to flee to come to the United States, you have to ask the question. It begs the question. And at some point in time, you just want to know, why don't you spend a week down there and see what these people go through? I'd risk it all.
Jill, don't you have any empathy?
Jill, go ahead.
Come on, Sarah, you're a parent. Don't you have any empathy for what these people are going through?
Jill.
They have less than you do.
Guys,
Sarah, come on,
settle down.
seriously.
I'm trying to be serious, but I'm not going to have you yell out of turn. Jill, please
It's a
call.
law, and they have, these people have nothing.
Hey, Brian, I know you want to get some more TV time, but that's not what this is about. I want to recognize you. Go ahead, Jill.
Honestly, answer the question. It's a serious question. These people have nothing. They come to the border with nothing, and you throw children in cages. You're a parent. You're a parent.
Okay, now, couple different things in that little piece right there. Number one, separation of church and state is separation of the state getting involved in the church. That's been twisted for eons. Let's not even go there. That's a whole different subject right there. But regarding what he's saying, I agree with him 100%. You're a parent. We're parents. Let's start to take a look at what's happening. And I know some of these people personally. Let's look at some of our own children in our own country. Where is the news on it? Where is the media attention on this right now? This is what's happening within our borders. We want to protect our borders. We want to protect our borders from what? Are we going to start to protect within our borders from judicial tyranny? Are we going to start to protect our children and our families within our borders from judges that are rendering decisions that are destroying our families, that are killing our kids slowly, that are actually putting our kids into positions that literally kill them, destroy their futures, destroy your future, and destroy mine? Let's look at a couple of these families right here within our borders.
So you went to San Diego last summer with your mom, and you flew there on your own free will, right? And did you have fun in San Diego?
Yes.
And what did you enjoy the most?
Being with my mother.
What else? Like going to the beach or
Going to the beach.
just being there?
Being there in general.
And so, when was the last time you saw me, your mom?
August 2016.
And do you want to see your mom, me, for your next break?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Grace. Your name is Grayson Gibbons, right?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Love you, love.
Why do you have a black eye?
Because Chuck hit me, and
Look at the camera.
and because he was mad at me, and Marissa and Mom were shopping somewhere, and I forget the name though. And
Are you telling the truth?
yes,
You first told me that a boy at school hit you in the eye. Was that the truth or no?
no.
Okay, so you made up the story about the boy punching you in the eye.
Mhm.
So Chuck punched you in the eye when Marissa and her mother were shopping sometime maybe a week ago.
Yeah.
And you have those bruises.
It was about like, it was on the, I think it was the 4th? Yeah, the 4th.
The 4th of January?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Saturday night, your mother and Marissa went out. Marissa, do you remember going shopping with your mother last Saturday night?
I'm pretty sure I might have, because I remember Chuck staying home with Nick, I think, because I don't really remember.
Marissa, didn't you notice Nikki had a black eye?
Well, before the pool I did it, but like when I saw those little specks under his eye, I'm like,
All right.
is that
Nikki, you didn't tell your mother, you didn't tell Marissa that he hit you, that you got a black eye?
I didn't,
How come?
because I was scared that I don't know.
Okay. This is the truth, guys. Daddy did not tell you what to say.
No, Dad did not tell us. Dad
Because-
realized Nick's black eye, and this is coming from me. Dad realized Nick's black eye, and then he wanted to go talk to him, and then Nick told him, first of all, that kid punched him, and I guess that's not the real thing, and then he told him that Chuck hit him in places.
Okay.
So,
Nick, anything
That's
else you want to say?
That, Chuck, can you just leave? Because it's kind of bothering me that you're there. Doesn't feel right, and,
The police are in my house and apparently have a search warrant. I'm Facebooking live right now because I'm tired of getting harassed by the police department.
I've executed a search warrant at your residence, right? My name is Jeff Wonsi. I'm from the New Ulm Police Department.
I remember you because I've been harassed from you before.
The judge in good standing signed the warrant today. What we did is we came in and we took some photographs and videotapes of your place.
And I was not here, and I did not give you any permission to be in my home.
You didn't, okay? But that's here nor there. We don't need your permission. So what we did is we went in there and we looked at the conditions of the house, and I've made a determination, all right? And that's the kids aren't going to stay here.
I have an appointment for my son to see a specialist, and I cannot have him not come with me.
We'll work with you on that, not a problem.
You haven't worked with me for 10 years, and I'm a victim of abuse. I have had no legal aid help. I have been making attempts to work on the house. I have asked Family Services several times for a dumpster, and this is how my ex-husband has left the house for me.
We need to find a place for the kids, and that's what we're working on. Do you understand that?
I do not and cannot have the boys go anywhere because I'm not doing anything criminally wrong.
Melanie, I'm Lori from the county. And
yeah. And my advocate had talked to you and said that my ADA rights are being violated, my civil rights are being violated.
And I will get a dumpster for you tomorrow if that's what you
Well,
need.
yeah, sure, now tomorrow. Now all of a sudden you're getting one when I've asked you guys several times before. I don't appreciate being harassed and my rights being violated. You know, you guys are allowing my children to be smacked around and everything. And he's crying right now because you're getting my children crying. You know, being harassed at school, missing their school studies. Look at how many police are here to a non-criminal. One police, CPS, senior investigator that has been on my case forever. Another one, harassing and intimidating a single mother that's trying to protect her kids from an abuser. Why don't you come in my house and help me instead of hounding and harassing me like you are? I want your card, I want your card, I want your card, and I want your card. I want your cards and badges and stuff.
Come up to the police department.
I want your card. I want your card and I want your card.
To the police department, you can get one.
I want your card. They're not giving it to me right now. No. Name and badge number, please.
It's at the office. I didn't.
I want some kind of ID. You're on camera. Smile pretty. Name and badge. They're not giving me their names and badge numbers. Yeah, this is Mr. Jeff Wonsi. He's the one that I have on audio too.
That's fine.
Yeah, and uphold your oath of the Constitution of the United States and the mission statement. You guys have that mission statement in the LEC waiting room. How come nobody's following the mission statement? Yeah, I want the incident report number. They just took off with my kids. I want the report. Where's the report? I want the report. I want the see, they're just driving away from me. Look at that.
So there's 3, and I know the follow-ups of those stories. So one of them, we did get the boys back right away. We got in it right away. The other 2, they haven't seen their children. The mother and the father in the first 2 videos haven't seen their children in years. And so we can talk about the detrimental effects of that, but where's the news media on those subjects? Those are 3 cases of literally millions of cases where children have been completely severed from family members. That doesn't just mean your mother and your father. That means your entire extended family. That means who you were born into this earth to be, and your extended family, your neighbors, your neighborhood, and everything you've ever known completely taken away from you. How is that supposed to be something that's good for our nation? And why isn't the media all over it? Why are we still fighting this animal? So I want to show a clip here right now about, this is actually very hard to look at, a little boy that you saw in one of the videos. I want to show a follow-up video of him and what he's been going through, just to show you what happens to these children.
A special meeting today at the Capitol has lawmakers asking if enough is being done to protect foster children.
So now they've got the 5-year-old still beside the car, and you can hear him. He's screaming, "I want my mommy, I want my mommy." And because he refused to leave with the 2 social workers that showed up to take him, basically they called the police. So Chavez, I believe was the officer's name, who was sitting on him in the back seat of the car, because the 5-year-old little boy, again, the 5-year-old little boy wants his mommy. He wants to stay home, but they don't allow that. This is what they do. And then they'll take this 5-year-old little boy and they'll go shove him in a psych ward because they've already began the process of drugging him up. Now, mind you, this is on the orders. Oh, now we've got an ambulance. So the 5-year-old is absolutely going to a psych ward. Just because he wants his mommy. Let me see if I can, there we go. So he's just holding him up by his shoulders. And this is the best interest of the child. That's what this is, guys. All he keeps saying is, "I want my mommy." And we just keep holding him like he's some kind of common criminal. That's what we do for the best interest of the child. While the 2 social workers, if you want to call them that, probably don't have the wherewithal no more than our 4th and 5th grade individuals to handle a child when they're wrongfully removing them away from their families. And that reminds me, Pheasant Weber, that's what we do. We take 5-year-old little boys away from their mommy, and if they want their mommy, then we lock them up in a psych ward. That's what we do. That's what we do right there. So if you guys think I'm kidding, I'm not kidding. Taking children away from parents without substantiation of abuse, there's no abuse. There's no abuse. There's false allegations of abuse, but there's no abuse. And this is what it looks like. Does that make you warm and fuzzy? Because it makes me want to light up. I mean, and these people call themselves servants of the public. I guess that's what Hitler called them too, huh?
Maria and Steve Green have been fighting for their rights under Michigan's Medical Marijuana Act. Instead of protecting them, the law has left them vulnerable to felony charges in Oakland County, and now a hastily scheduled hearing ended up taking their daughter away from them.
I was shocked. I can't, even the prosecutor didn't think it was the right choice to take our baby away. And to say because somebody could rob you, you shouldn't have colored TVs because somebody can rob you. I mean, It doesn't make any sense.
Why can't I leave with an VHS? I'm bringing everything to you. You want to go get a diaper bag and stuff so we'll have everything with her? I'm gonna take her.
Are you stealing the bag?
Sir, they have a court apprehension order signed by a judge to take the child.
They could go to the grandmother.
That's all there is, okay? If they want to leave without anything, they'll leave without it. They're meaning to give you guys an opportunity. You want to give us a diaper? You want to give us a diaper bag? Okay, they're not stealing the baby.
Yeah.
I will have the supplies when I get there.
Guys, we're going to try to get in touch with Grandma.
I will have the supplies when I get there.
Okay, can you go get the diaper bag, sir, please?
Can I give the rest of it to my mom?
Go back to the office. We're going to try to get in touch with Grandma. We have to make sure that you do an investigation on Grandma. We have to make sure that everything's clean.
That's supposed to be happening right now, right?
That's what we're going to do, all right?
Can I get a time frame on that, please?
I don't know. Lori, have you been in touch with anyone in another county? Okay, not as of yet. We're waiting on the call.
So we're going to the office with you?
Lori, are you letting her come up to the office with you?
I knew it, fucking bitch!
Special meeting today at the Capitol has lawmakers asking if enough is being done to protect foster children. The meeting, led by Austin State Representative Donna Dukes with the Child Protection Committee, focused on whether there is enough for training for caseworkers. And KXAN's Lindsey Bramson was there and has this story from the state capitol.
If we expect them to come out and graduate college, we need to make sure that they're not being abused in care.
Once a foster child himself, Tyrone Obaseki now spends his time advocating for the children he says can't fight for themselves.
I was body slammed at the age of 6 and my teeth fell out. No one really cared.
In front of members of the Child Protection Committee, he asked that stronger standards are put in place for caseworkers. Just 1 month ago, 2 children ages 6 and 4 drowned at Lake Georgetown. Paramedics said when they arrived at the lake, the kids' foster parents were nowhere to be seen. The agency who placed those children in their foster home is now under investigation. Ashley Harris is a former caseworker.
There were times where I had very high caseloads and I was not able to devote the time that a child needed to them.
She says caseworkers being assigned more cases than they can handle is a big problem.
With those high caseloads, caseworkers are just running around checking on kids but really not able to look for red flags, and ultimately that puts a child in danger.
Harris fears if nothing is done, more children may die. Lindsey Bramson, KXAN News.
This meeting today follows new rules that will go into effect later this year that protect children in foster care. Come September, the Department of Family and Protective Services will interview relatives of a potential foster parent who does not live in the home. The agency also wants to run background checks on anyone considered an emergency caregiver and review all law enforcement calls to the home over the past 2 years.
Okay, so we're hearing people complaining that, it's wrong to separate children from their mothers, babies from their nursing moms, children from their families. We're hearing a big storm all over the media right now about how wrong this is. And they're right. It is wrong. It's very wrong. But what about our children right here in America? Where's the media? I still don't hear them shouting it out. I still don't hear them talking about it. I still don't hear their concerns. And it's interesting to me because it's the Democrats, it's the very people that are complaining that this is wrong. They're complaining that this is wrong at the border, but they're not complaining that it's wrong right within our border, right inside our states. Why? Why are they not focusing on the fact that our nation's own children are daily being separated? Look to your right and look to your left in your neighborhood. And so many lies have been told. You must be a bad mother. You must be a bad father. There must be something wrong with you. You must have done something wrong. I would have handled it differently. I would have let them in. I wouldn't have let them in. Wait a second. Do you honestly know what's happening within our borders? Do you have any idea what's been happening for 50 years right within our own country? Do you know that we have a judicial system that tells you that judges have absolute immunity? Do you know that that's not true? Do you know that when they put on that robe, they can kill you in their courtroom wearing a robe, and it's okay because they have judicial immunity, and whatever they do with the robe on means it's okay? Do you honestly believe that that's true? Do you know that when they stamp an order and they make a decision, no matter how barbaric that decision is, no matter how wrong that decision is, no matter how irresponsible that decision is, it's okay in our country because they have judicial immunity, and when they're wearing that robe, they can do that to you? It's actually not true, but the fight that you have to take to get the protection and to save your family is overwhelming. We have to go through a whole host of issues. We have to go through different types of appeal processes, filing all kinds of things, and 99% of the time, it just falls to the wayside. And yet right now we're worried about what's happening at the border. And again, rightfully so, children should not be separated from their families. That should not happen. This is detrimental to their welfare. This is barbaric on every level, but it's happening right in your house and in your neighbor's house. And it's happening right now as we're doing this live. I want to show you a clip right now. And I want you guys to take a look at this right now. Hold on a second. Yes, I want to show you one more news article on what's happening within our country, within the horrible and barbaric family courts, child protective services, which I call child predator services, and foster care.
It's a secret list that can cost you, your family, or your job. And once you're on it, it can be very hard to get off.
Well, some changes are being made to the law. Many experts say it doesn't go far enough. 7 Action News investigator Heather Catallo has details.
The state maintains a secret list called the Child Abuse and Neglect Central Registry, and the sole power to label you an abuser lies not with a judge or a jury, but with Child Protective Services workers.
It's heartbreaking.
Anita Bell says she's never been convicted of a crime, but Bell's name has been put on a state-run list as a child abuser. It's called the Michigan Child Abuse and Neglect Central Registry.
Where is the due process?
The Central Registry is maintained by Child Protective Services workers inside Michigan's Department of Human Services, or DHS. Right now, there are about 275,000 people on that secret list, and many of them don't even realize they're on it. You don't have to be found guilty in court to be put on the registry. All it takes is the word of CPS staffers to label you an abuser, which can prevent you from getting certain jobs or doing volunteer work.
A sex offender gets to be convicted beyond a reasonable doubt, and then they're placed on the sex offender registry. But parents and grandparents, teachers, for goodness sake, a child could just make up something.
It was Anita Bell's granddaughter who accused her and other relatives of spanking. And Bell's case shows just how inconsistent the rules to get on the list can be. Take a look at the CPS investigative report that recommends Bell not be placed on the registry.
In your CPS report, they say you should not be placed on the Central Registry.
That's correct.
So how did you get put on the registry?
I don't know.
As the law stands now, once you're on the registry, you're on for life. You can ask for a hearing in front of an administrative law judge to be taken off the list, although it's not easy to do. But the law is changing in September. The new law will limit your time on the registry to 10 years unless you were put on the list for criminal sexual conduct, battery, life-threatening injuries, or abandonment. But those labels are not always what they seem. The 7 investigators have documented many cases of parents being accused of abandonment or neglect when they were simply trying to get help for their children from the state.
The current reforms don't go far enough.
Attorney Elizabeth Warner is suing the governor and DHS because she says the Central Registry is unconstitutional.
You just get on the registry by a push of a button by one worker.
With no verification that the crime was actually committed.
They believe that their investigation, even if it's one-sided, is all they need to ruin somebody's life.
What do you say to the people who say CPS has way too much power?
Well, I think that is sometimes a relatively understandable position, but I also think it's a pretty easy target. Our job, again, is to keep children safe.
CPS State Manager Colin Park says it was actually DHS that initiated many of the reforms.
Folks should not be on there for life unless they're really, really a long-term danger to children.
While the new law makes it mandatory the DHS send you a registered letter telling you that you're on the registry, one thing some legal experts don't like about the changes, you will only have 6 months to ask for your name to be removed before you lose that right.
As for Anita Bell, she demanded a hearing to get her name off the central registry. But before they ever got in front of a judge, state workers realized they did not have enough evidence, so they had to remove her name. DHS officials tell me the new 10-year limit can be applied retroactively to many of the people on the registry. We have the details on what to do if you're on the list at WXYZ.com. I'm Heather Catallo, 7 Action News.
So that's one of our main issues right there, is the lack of due process. These judges are not following the laws, and they're doing whatever they want to do. And it leaves us in a very bad position as families. It leaves us in a very bad position as the children of our nation. It leaves us in a horrible position every day in our country, suffering the losses that we're suffering across our nation within our borders. And again, no one's looking at it. I just want to tell the judges to please start following the laws within our nation and stop breaking the laws within our nation.
Stop breaking the law, asshole!
So we do have a couple of remedies right now that we've been working diligently at, and I really would like to show you an event that's coming up. It's called For the Children. It's going to be from September 7th through 11th in Washington, D.C. I encourage everybody to please get out there to Washington, D.C. I know there's going to be 16 hours worth of congressional speakers talking to Congress in regards to this horrible and pressing issue that they're not paying enough attention of. And also Don Ruffy's executive order to the president, which is always on my Facebook page. Please sign that petition. It's a proposal to an executive order to jail judges. These judges have to be held accountable for these abuses to our families in our borders. And finally, I'd like to show you my book trailer to my best-selling book, Punished for Protecting. I know you have been punished for protecting your own children, your own families, and your own rights. And it's very sad that our nation is still suffering this great issue.